Greetings, disembodied voice of Rockotar here. Marvel released a new series on Disney Plus. It's called She-Hulk. I thought I'd give my thoughts on the first episode, and probably all the other episodes after it as well. So, shall we answer the question, is She-Hulk Episode 1 quality or cringe? Firstly, and most importantly, we have the character of Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk. And unfortunately, whenever Marvel decides to release a new TV show or movie, I always go in with a little bit of fear in the back of my mind that I'm not going to like the newest character introduced. And this is an unfortunate trend that was started by Captain Marvel, as up until that point, I had liked pretty much every new character that was introduced into the MCU, but then Captain Marvel was so horrendously awful that I can never trust a new character ever again. Many have still been good though, like Shang-Chi was pretty good, Moon Knight was a great character, Kate Bishop was pretty good too, but others have not been so great. While none have been quite as bad as Captain Marvel since her debut, many have just been okay, such as America Chavez, Yelena, or like half the entire cast of the Eternals. But like I said, there's still been many other great characters introduced, so I was hoping that Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk, would be one of the good ones. And so far, I have mixed feelings, which isn't the greatest sign, but there's still hope if they go in the right direction from here on out. My biggest problem so far is that she does seem to be skewing a little bit on the power balance, whereas there's a whole training sequence with her and Bruce Banner, and she mostly outdoes Bruce Banner in every aspect, and he sort of has to like kind of have a comeback move to make up, you know? Though the battle that happens near the end of the episode between the two is pretty fairly balanced and definitely more of what I want to see of, because I don't like it when a new character is introduced and they're just better than the old one in every way. It's like they think that this is going to make us like the new character more than the old one, but it's really not. Making a character perfect is not what ever made anyone like them. In fact, the most flawed characters are usually the ones who are liked best. Hulk is one of Marvel's best characters because of his whole personality disorder thing and how he keeps changing between Bruce Banner and Hulk, and how he has to deal with that and move on and be a hero anyways. But unfortunately, Jennifer just is in control of She-Hulk the entire time and never has any personality swapping at all. Though that is comic accurate, so I'm not really like complaining that they did that or anything. Speaking of comic accurate, her origin story is fairly close to how it is in the comics, with her being turned into She-Hulk by some of Bruce Banner's blood, though she didn't get it from a blood transfusion, just a cut from Bruce Banner in a car crash. And another strange thing about this whole origin is just how quickly everything happens. There's just a brief, like, introduction scene with Jennifer in, like, an office building, and it's, like, whatever. And then she literally breaks the fourth wall and talks to us on the camera saying, here's what happened. And then we just basically cut to her driving a car, just randomly, out of nowhere, a spaceship shows up. And this isn't the only time something random happens like this in the episode. But anyways, as I was saying, the origin story goes by very quickly. Like, it's pretty, I'd say this is the fastest origin story in any Marvel movie or TV show so far, as Jennifer is turned into She-Hulk less than 10 minutes into the episode. Then she spends the rest of the episode training, and pretty much just kind of wraps up the whole origin by the end of the episode, which is only like 30-something minutes long. Which pretty much puts her in a position for every single episode after this to be written more or less as if it was a sequel rather than the origin. In one way, this is kind of a good thing because, you know, we've seen so many origin stories over and over again. But at the same time, there's a reason why we've seen them over and over again so many times, because they just work so well at introducing characters. I both do like and don't like how fast it jumps through this whole origin. I'd probably say I don't like how fast it goes, more than I like the benefits of it going fast, as we do lose a lot of that extra depth that you get from movies like Iron Man or Doctor Strange or Ant-Man that took their time to properly introduce the characters. And not that this was like a horrible introduction or anything, but it definitely could have been better. And speaking of things that could have been better, the comedy is a bit hit or miss. I'd say maybe 65% of the jokes are pretty funny, and then the other 35% are a bit cringe or just lacking in any real punch to make them funny. Though, Bruce is pretty consistently funny throughout the whole episode.
Spandex. Spandex is your best friend.
And in fact, he is generally the highlight of the episode whenever he's there, which is most of the episode, though it is implied that he might not be back for a while, and I'm hoping he comes back at all, which he probably will. I'd be shocked if he doesn't show up at least in 1 or 2 more episodes to come. But I guess this is technically the She-Hulk show, not the Hulks or whatever it would be called if it was about both of them. And also one last note that does unfortunately fall more into the cringe category for She-Hulk is a few moments where they do try to force in more of that, you know, creepy guys kind of stuff that we've seen far too many times in recent movies. You know, the hit-on girls kind of guys. You know, the scene where they show up and try to hit on Jennifer Walters is pretty short, I will admit, so it isn't the worst thing in the world. She does bring it back up later on in the episode too, which is slightly annoying, but like, I kind of wish we could just like move on, or maybe, you know, get a new female character who doesn't involve this kind of stuff in the plot, because it's so overdone at this point. And well, that pretty much wraps up all my thoughts on this episode. Oh, wait, what's this? It looks like there's an end credit scene on the episode. I wonder what that's about.
Did you see that ass?
Oh dear. Nope. This is in fact the worst end credit scene I have ever seen in any MCU project so far, bar none. And yes, that does include the literal trailers at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home and Captain America the First Avenger. Yes, I would rather literally sit through a trailer at the end of a movie as the end credit scene rather than whatever this garbage is. It's completely not funny, not relevant at all, and it adds nothing to the characters or plot or anything, since the characters are just drunk anyways. It's just complete nonsensical ramblings about cringe-inducing subject matter. Whoever came up with this end credit scene, I just have one question for you. Why? Overall, I'd have to give the She-Hulk Episode 1 a score of 35% cringe, 65% quality. It's overall mostly solid, though that end credit scene does a lot of damage to its overall score, and I know what you're thinking, it's just an end credit scene, but it's Marvel! No one is going to skip the end credit scene, it might as well be an essential part of the episode. And that really does drag it down for me. Like, it really worries me in a way too, because I really don't want the rest of the humor of this show to be like this end credit scene, because if it is, well, there is no hope for the rest of the show, but I'm hoping that it isn't like this. Anyways, I would still give the episode a B ranking overall, as it's decent, but it could be better. As I said earlier, if they take the right direction with Jennifer's character, she could end up being great. But it really depends on whether or not they acknowledge her ego as a flaw and actually have that be something that holds her back in future episodes. Otherwise, she'll just end up being the slightly more annoying and more powerful version of Hulk, which is not exactly going to be a great or endearing character for viewers to watch. Well, that pretty much sums up everything I have to say about the show. Thank you for watching this rambling of the She-Hulk Episode 1. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and a comment telling me what you think about the She-Hulk show. I'll see you guys in the next video, which, spoiler alert, is a review of Wreck-It Ralph. And most importantly of all, stay iconic. Goodbye.